Hello, Richard McMunn here, and during this short presentation I want to talk through a number of firefighter interview tips and answer some of the more common questions that people ask me. Now, the new firefighter interview is a relatively informal affair that is designed to assess your knowledge of the firefighter's role and in particular how you can meet the personal qualities and attributes. And this document that I'm going through here is available inside your course area, but I want to go through it and elaborate on a few of the points. So this small presentation will concentrate predominantly on the questions that you will be asked that are centered on the personal qualities and attributes. And I've already mentioned during the main bulk of the presentation that you really need to learn the PQAs. Get a copy of them, find out exactly the PQAs that you'll be assessed against during your particular interview, and then go all out to match them. Now, an important tip is make sure you read and understand the PQAs, and I would suggest that you spend a lot of time before your interview, in the days and weeks leading up to it, learn each of the PQAs thoroughly, to the point where if somebody said to you, okay, tell me about the personal quality and attribute of commitment to diversity and integrity, and you need to be able to say to them, yes, okay, this is what I know about it without looking at the document, this is what I know about it, these are the points, and also these are the areas of where I actually match each of the specific strands that form part of each PQA. If you do that and follow that, then you should get extremely high marks during this particular element of the interview. Okay, first question. So how long does the interview last? Well, obviously this is all dependent on how long your responses are. But the interview shouldn't really last more than an hour, usually between about 45 to 50 minutes maximum. But again, it will depend on how you respond to the questions. Personally, I would make sure that you give in-depth responses to each of the questions, because they can always stop you. Okay, the interviewer, when he or she has heard enough from you, then they can stop you and move on to the next question. You won't lose marks for talking too much, but don't forget you are being assessed against effective communication, so you don't want to start waffling, but so long as you provide concise and relevant responses, then you will do well. Now, who will be sat on the interview panel? Now, that again will depend on the fire service you're applying to join, but generally it will be a uniformed manager, and it will also be a member of the human resources team, and that's to ensure that standards are being met, because they will need someone to write down your responses, so they'll have to write down what is actually said, and that can take quite a bit of time. So what should you wear for the interview? Well, you don't need me to tell you this, but make sure you dress smart and you wear a formal outfit. Remember that you are applying to join a disciplined service. Firefighters are required to wear a uniform, so if you turn up in jeans and trainers or a scruffy suit with no tie or shirt, then you're not going to score well. So make sure that you look smart. Remember to polish your shoes, maybe get your hair cut. Make sure that you're clean shaven for the gents, and for the ladies, make sure that you're looking smart as well. So what is the purpose of the interview? The main purpose is to talk about you and your interest in becoming a firefighter, and then I'll look at some areas of your experience in more detail. So the areas of your experiences, they'll be predominantly looking to see whether you can match certain areas of the PQAs, and I've mentioned this earlier. So in terms of working with others, they may say, can you give us an example of where you have where you've worked as part of a team to achieve a difficult task? And I always recommend that students or applicants use what I call the STAR method. Now, I've uploaded a short video in your suite area that covers the STAR method, and I recommend that you watch that. It's a generic video, but it talks about how I recommend that you structure responses using the STAR method. If you follow that principle, then you won't go too far wrong. Okay, is everyone asked the same set of questions? Yes, they are, and this is to make sure that the process is fair. But I would recommend that you don't leave the interview and then start telling other people who are applying what the questions are. Okay, because obviously you're up against them. How many people on the panel? I've already mentioned it could be 2, 3 or 4, and there usually be a mix of personnel who are uniformed and non-uniformed personnel, to make sure that there's some consistency in the actual interview itself. So how will the interview commence? Well, the panel normally asks you to sit down, so you walk in, make sure that you knock on the door, introduce yourself, don't sit down in the interview chair until you're invited to do so. Then you'll be asked to sit down, make sure you sit smart, even though it's generally a relatively informal affair, make sure that you sit down smart and make sure you watch your interview technique. The panel will then explain the purpose of the interview to you. They will state that they're going to ask you for specific examples of what you've done in certain situations. Now, it's okay to draw from examples from either home, work, maybe your educational background or different hobbies. I would suggest that you use a variety of different scenarios. You don't have to use all work-related ones. You might be a single parent at home, a father or a mother who's looking after the children while your partner works, and therefore you won't have any sort of specific work situations to come up to. I'm not saying that being a parent isn't work, because it is, but you don't have to just use work scenarios. So how will I be assessed? Okay, you'll be assessed predominantly against the PQAs, as I've mentioned, that are relevant to the role. Let's assume that you're being assessed against the PQAs of commitment to excellence, commitment to development, commitment to diversity and integrity, and communicating effectively. Now, these do change, okay? So look out for that. But commitment to excellence would be approximately 14 points, commitment to development 14, commitment to diversity and integrity 21 points, and communicating effectively 14. So you can see there that they're placing a lot of emphasis on the commitment to diversity and integrity. My tip is make sure that you learn that one inside out, and you can come up with plenty of responses to the questions that I provide you with. Also, don't use jargon during the interview, and make sure you communicate in a language that the panel can understand. Okay, then the panel will probably come up with a number of warm-up questions. For example, how was your journey here today? So don't just say, yeah, it was okay. You can say something like, yeah, the journey was very good, thank you. Before I came to the interview, I planned my route, checked the news to see if there was any traffic problems of hold-ups which could have delayed my travel, and I managed to avoid a tailback on the motorway, so thankfully the journey was very relaxing. I like to plan things in advance, like I've done with my journey here today, and understand that's part of the role of a firefighter. So you're actually building in some qualities straight away, even in the warm-up questions. So what interests you about becoming a firefighter? That's a great opportunity to let them know that you've actually, looked about the role and you found out exactly what it's about. Not just about the reactive side, fighting fires, but also about the proactive role of actually being in the community and supporting and educating the community, and also working in a diverse workforce. So how did you hear about the fact that they're recruiting? Well, that might be that you've been keeping an eye on the website and you've been looking at the papers every week, keeping up to date for recruitment alerts. It shows that you're more keen and interested. Whereas if I said, I just heard from a mate that you were recruiting, so I thought I'd give it a go, that doesn't sound as good as well. I keep an eye on your website every week. I ring up regularly to find out whether you're recruiting, and also get the local newspaper every week to check for vacancies. It shows that you're more keen. What steps have you taken to find out more about the role of a firefighter? Again, have you visited a local fire station? Have you been on the website, attended a course maybe, or even you've bought my book, Richard McMunn's book on how to become a firefighter? Can you tell me some of your interests or hobbies? Now, be careful about these, because obviously you want to say that you do things that are relevant to what a firefighter would do. Just give you a bit of advice. Firefighters are very keen on outdoor activities. They go running, swimming, they like going to the gym, cycling. They're also generally family people, very caring and supportive. So make sure that you use things that are relevant to to what to the role of a firefighter. If you've learned a musical instrument, that's a great thing to tell them, because it shows that you're focused and you're also able to take in a large degree or a large amount of job relevant information. So that's just a number of sample warm-up questions. Now, obviously the PQA questions can come in any format, and these are just sample questions, okay, with a few tips on how to respond to them. Let's say that we're looking at the PQA of working with others, and this shows how well you work in the community. Sample question could be, tell me about a time when you've contributed to the effective working of a team. So if you structured your response by saying what the size and purpose of the team was, who else was actually in the team apart from you, what your role in the team was exactly, what you personally did to help make the team effective, and then what was the result, then you won't go too far wrong. A tip there is to make sure that you state that the result was positive as a result of yours and others' actions. And in the interview document that is provided in this course, as supporting evidence, you'll find sample responses to these questions that you can use to help structure your own. Next question, tell me about a time when you helped someone who was in distress or in need of support, which is something that firefighters do. Again, using the STAR method, what was the situation? Why did you provide the help? You know, whether you were approached or volunteered, and the tip is that it's better to say that you volunteered because that's what a firefighter would do. What did you do to support the individual? What specifically did you do or say? And again, what was the result? And to reiterate, make sure the result is positive following your actions. Let's take a look at the next question, which deals with commitment to excellence. Tell me about a time when you've had to follow clear instructions or rules in order to complete a task, because that's what a firefighter would have to do, is follow clear instructions or a task, so they want to know that you can actually do this. Okay, what was the work that you were doing? So what was the situation? What were the rules or instructions that you had to follow? What did you do to complete the work as directed? So basically the task and the action. And what was the result? How did you feel about completing the task in this way? Did it make you feel good, the fact that you were following and adhering to rules and regulations? That would be a good thing to say. Okay, tell me about a time when you sought to improve the way that you or others do things. Okay, how to structure the response, what was the improvement you made, what prompted the change, and a tip there is to make sure that it's you who prompted the change. Okay, you thought that you needed to improve yourself. It's better to think about it yourself, to analyse what you're doing, because firefighters like to continually develop. Okay, so use that phrase, continually develop. What did you personally do to ensure that the change was successful? You made sure you followed any procedures, you kept a timetable, an action plan of what you were doing, and what was the result? Again, make sure it's positive. Okay, commitment to development. Tell me about a time where you've taken it upon yourself to learn a new skill or develop an existing one. And here's how to structure your response. What skill did you learn or develop? What prompted the development? When did the learning or development occur? How did you go about learning or developing the skill? And what was the result? And how has that skill helped you since then? Tell me about a time when you changed how you did something in response to feedback from someone else. So this is what firefighters have to do, is they have to have appraisals from their line manager, and he or she will state what they need to do to improve. Some people might not be very good at taking constructive criticism from others. If you want to be a firefighter, then you need to be good at that. So what did you need to develop? What feedback did you receive and who was it from? What steps did you take to improve yourself? What do you specifically say or do? And what was the result? And again, try to make it positive. So a good example to use there would be if you've had an appraisal at work and you were maybe criticised for something, what did you do to improve? Okay, commitment to diversity and integrity, and I've already mentioned how big this is. This will show how you understand and respect other people's values and how you would adopt a fair and ethical approach to others. Diversity means the differences that exist between people, such as sex, age, ethnic background, religion, social background, etc. So describe a time where you've helped to support diversity in a team, school, college or organisation. That is a difficult question. Describe a time where you've helped to support diversity in a team, school, college or organisation. So what was the situation? What prompted the situation? What were the diversity issues? What steps did you take to support others from diverse backgrounds? What specifically did you say or do? And what was the result? Let me give you an example. I can remember working for an organisation before I joined the fire service, and I was actually working in an office, and I was close to the front exit and close to the toilets. We had a member of staff who joined, they were interviewed and they were successful, and that lady was actually in a wheelchair, and she was placed not intentionally but to the rear of the office, and in order for her to leave the building and to get to the toilet, the disabled facilities, she had to go through two offices, and it was quite difficult for her to get through. So I volunteered to actually move offices and swap offices with her. So this is a demonstration of how I've supported diversity in an organisation. So I went to see my boss and I said, can I move, because it would help her to actually be closer to the facilities, which she was pleased. And I actually went to see her and said, look, I'm prepared to move, and she was really grateful. So we swapped offices, and then she was closer to the exit, so she didn't have to move too far, and she was also closer to the facilities. So that's being aware, and that's a really good example to use for that kind of situation. Tell me about a time when you noticed a member of your team or group behaving in a manner which was inconsistent with the team's, group's or organisation's values. Remember that firefighters and managers are required to challenge inappropriate behaviour. So again, what was the situation? How was the behaviour inconsistent with the team or organisation values? Where were why were they behaving in the way that they were? And that could be because they were just ill-educated. They didn't understand the effect of their actions or their words. What did you say or do when you noticed the behaviour, and what difficulties did you face? And again, what was the result? Tell me about a time when you made a mistake which had a knock-on effect on other people. Now, obviously, you don't want to give a mistake that does something catastrophic, like you're an aircraft engineer and you dropped a tool in the engine and it brought down the aircraft. Nothing like that. But there's nothing wrong with making mistakes. It's what you do after that's important. So the fire service wants to see that you're honest and that you can take on the chin the fact that you've made a mistake, but what did you do to improve afterwards? What were the circumstances? What was the mistake? How did this mistake affect others? And what did you do or say when you noticed your mistake? So you put your hand up and you apologise straight away. You might be a shopkeeper and you're doing a stock take and you realise that you've made a mistake and not ordered enough stock because you'd made a mistake from your stock take. Therefore, you put your hand up straight away. You went and told your boss, you apologised, but you made sure that you improved for next time. So you found out what the problem was, and more importantly, you communicated your error to other people in the organisation so that they could learn from your mistakes, and that is very important. So what was the outcome, and what would you do differently next time? Okay, so that would be the end of the interview then. So here's some final top tips. It's always best to say if you had to ask for advice or consulted someone on how you were dealing with a problem, instead of just going for it and making a mistake. Because people in the fire service don't generally make mistakes, and that's because they've got a good support network around them. Remember that the questions are only samples based around the PQAs. It's important that you find out which PQAs that you're going to be assessed against during the interview. It's always good that you say whether you would have done something different another time if it occurred again, because you felt you could have done it better. So if they say, would you have done anything different next time, it's better to say, yes, I would actually, because I could have improved it, and this is what I would have done. You'll get more marks for that. Evaluating and reflecting on your actions are very good. You are marked on this, but interviewers don't tell you it. This will get you more points. So if you use those words and say, upon evaluation and reflection, I decided to do X, Y, and Z, you will get more marks during the interview. And it's obviously important for your sake that you choose a number of different scenarios and situations, and I advise that you write them down before you attend the interview, because this will allow you then to give good responses, and it will keep you refreshed, and it will also provide you with more points. Thank you very much for watching.